8 boxed hair. Dye brands sitting in drugstore aisles right now have been directly lab tested and confirmed to carry chemicals linked to thyroid disruption, chemical burns, and a growing wave of bladder cancer lawsuits from the very people who apply them for a living. This is not speculation. This is Consumer Reports lab results. This is active federal litigation naming brand after brand by name. We are exposing every single one today. Then we are showing you 3 formulas that actually passed the same testing. Full color, full gray coverage. None of the chemistry sitting behind these lawsuits. Stay to the end because 2 of these 8 brands share the exact same parent company. And one of them you have probably never even heard of. Avoid brand 1, Schwarzkopf Keratin Color. A sleek black box sits at the top of the drugstore shelf. The word keratin printed across the front in gold lettering, promising the kind of strengthening treatment usually reserved for a professional salon service rather than a $10 box picked up on a weekly grocery run. People trusted Schwarzkopf Keratin Color because the brand built its reputation on European engineering and salon-grade formulation, positioning itself as the more sophisticated choice sitting above the basic drugstore boxes on the same shelf, worth the extra few dollars for the keratin promise alone. The name itself carries decades of professional credibility, the kind stylists reference by default when a client asks for a recognizable brand. Here is the reveal. Consumer Reports directly lab-tested Schwarzkopf Keratin Color and confirmed the presence of resorcinol in the formula, a coupling agent independently linked to thyroid disruption and at higher exposure levels, symptoms including dizziness and headache. The keratin marketing sits on the front of the box. The resorcinol sits in the actual tested formula underneath it, unrelated to the strengthening claim entirely, doing a completely different chemical job than anything printed on the packaging. Looks like a strengthening treatment. Reads like a standard resorcinol formula, wearing a keratin label. A box built around one ingredient story while an entirely different chemical does the actual coloring work underneath the surface. Set the marketing claim next to the lab result and the mismatch is immediate. Keratin infused is the printed promise on the box. Resorcinol confirmed present is the independent lab result sitting underneath that promise, with no keratin claim anywhere in the actual chemical breakdown Consumer Reports published. For the shopper who thought keratin on the label meant a gentler, strengthening formula, this is what you actually bought. A standard resorcinol-based dye, independently confirmed by lab testing, wearing a strengthening story that has nothing to do with the chemistry actually doing the coloring work in your hair. The carve-out. Schwarzkopf's Color. Ultim line uses a comparable formulation without the keratin premium pricing, meaning the strengthening claim adds cost without changing the underlying chemical exposure in any measurable way whatsoever. Keratin on the box. Resorcinol in the lab result. Up next, a brand named directly in an active bladder cancer lawsuit, not by an independent lab, but by a hairdresser who used it for a living. Avoid brand 2. Wella A tube sits in a salon color tray, mixed by a stylist who has used the same brand for over a decade. Trusted enough that clients rarely ask what is actually inside the formula being brushed onto their scalp for the next 30 minutes. People trusted Wella because it built its reputation as a professional standard, the brand stylists themselves reach for, which made it feel like a product already vetted by people whose entire career depends on understanding hair chemistry better than the average consumer ever could. That professional endorsement did more convincing than any advertisement possibly could. Here is the reveal. Wella is named directly in an active hairdresser bladder cancer lawsuit, alongside L'Oreal, Henkel, and Clairol, filed by a former cosmetologist alleging the companies failed to warn users that repeated occupational exposure to their hair dye chemistry carried an elevated cancer risk. A review of 96 scientific articles published in the Journal of the American Academy of Dermatology found long-term permanent hair dye use carries a documented association with increased cancer risk. The exact research now underpinning the litigation naming Wella by name in federal court. Looks like the professional standard trusted for decades. Reads like one of several defendants in a lawsuit alleging decades of undisclosed occupational risk to the very people mixing it daily. Set the lawsuit's core allegation directly against the professional reputation the brand built its name on. Failure to warn is the specific claim. Decades of professional, repeated exposure is the specific harm alleged, aimed squarely at the people who mix this exact formula for a living. Appointment after appointment, year after year. For the stylist or client who thought professional grade meant independently vetted for long-term safety, This is what you actually bought. A formula sitting inside an active lawsuit alleging the company knew about long-term risk and never disclosed it to the people applying it daily for a paycheck. The carve-out. Wella's demi-permanent lines use a lower concentration formula than its full permanent range, reducing total chemical exposure per application, even though the underlying lawsuit covers the brand's product line broadly rather than one specific formula alone. Professional trust. Active lawsuit. Same brand name either way. Up next, a brand marketed specifically as the gentle, no-ammonia alternative, tested directly by an independent lab that found the exact chemical the marketing implied was never there. Avoid Brand 3. Clairol Natural Instincts. A soft, pastel-colored box sits next to the harsher-looking permanent dyes on the same shelf, chosen specifically because the packaging promises a gentler process. No ammonia. No harsh developer smell filling up the bathroom during a Sunday afternoon touch-up. People trusted Clairol Natural Instincts because the brand marketed it as the calm, plant-inspired alternative within its own catalog, positioned as the thoughtful choice for anyone who wanted color without the more aggressive chemistry sitting one shelf over on the exact same aisle. Here is the reveal. Consumer Reports directly lab-tested Clairol Natural Instincts and confirmed the presence of resorcinol in the formula, the same coupling agent linked to thyroid disruption found across several other boxed dyes on this list. The no ammonia claim is accurate. It was never the same claim as resorcinol-free, and the marketing let that distinction quietly blur together in the mind of anyone reading the box while standing in the aisle. Looks calm and plant-inspired. Reads like a confirmed resorcinol formula, sitting under a softer marketing story built around a single narrow claim. Line up the specific claim against the confirmed lab result, and the gap becomes obvious. No ammonia is the printed, accurate promise. Resorcinol, independently confirmed present, is the finding sitting underneath that promise. An entirely different chemical the box never once mentioned either way. For the shopper who thought no ammonia meant a fundamentally gentler formula overall, this is what you actually bought. A confirmed resorcinol-based dye, marketed with a narrower claim that only ever addressed one specific ingredient out of several sitting in the actual formula. The carve-out. Clairol's Beautiful Collection line, formulated specifically for deeper natural tones, uses a comparable base chemistry without the added marketing premium the Natural Instincts branding carries on top of it. Gentle branding. Same confirmed chemical either way. Up next, a brand marketed as the smaller, lower exposure choice for quick touch-ups, confirmed by the same independent lab to carry the exact same flagged ingredient anyway. Avoid Brand 4. L'Oreal Paris Magic Root. A slim, compact box sits in a bathroom cabinet, bought specifically because it promises a smaller, faster fix for regrowth alone, positioned as the lower commitment, lower exposure choice compared to a full color kit sitting on the same shelf. People trusted L'Oreal Paris Magic Root because the brand marketed it around precision and restraint, a smaller tool for a smaller job, which made it feel like the more careful, considered choice for anyone trying to limit how much product actually touched their scalp during a quick fix. Here is the reveal. Consumer Reports directly lab-tested L'Oreal Paris Magic Root and confirmed the presence of resorcinol in the formula, the identical chemical confirmed across Schwarzkopf Keratin Color and Clairol Natural Instincts earlier in this investigation. A smaller box and a smaller applicator do not change the concentration of the chemical itself, only the surface area it gets applied to during any single touch-up session. Looks like the smaller, more careful choice for a quick fix. Reads like the identical confirmed chemical found in the full-sized boxes sitting one shelf over. Weigh the size claim against the actual chemistry, and the smaller box stops meaning anything. Root touch-up only is the printed promise, implying a gentler, smaller-scale product. Resorcinol, independently confirmed present, is the same flagged chemical found in full coverage kits that never made that smaller scale claim to begin with. For the shopper who thought a smaller product meant a fundamentally lower risk formula, this is what you actually bought. The identical confirmed chemical as a full-sized box, simply packaged at a smaller volume for a narrower application area near the scalp. The carve-out. L'Oreal's Magic Retouch Spray, a temporary rinse-out root concealer rather than an oxidative dye, avoids the resorcinol question entirely since it never penetrates the hair shaft the way Magic Root actually does. smaller box, same confirmed chemical regardless. Up next, a brand marketed toward a specific, loyal customer base for decades, confirmed by the same independent lab to carry a chemical capable of causing chemical burns with repeated use. Avoid brand 5. Dark and Lovely. A warm, richly colored box sits at the front of the hair care aisle specifically stocked for textured hair, chosen for decades by women who saw very few boxed dye brands actually built with their hair type in mind, at all on a typical shelf. People trusted Dark and Lovely because the brand positioned itself for decades as the option built specifically for black and brown women, a rare instance of a mainstream boxed dye brand centering a customer base most other companies treated as an afterthought on a mostly white shelf display for generations. Here is the reveal. Consumer Reports directly lab-tested both Dark and Lovely permanent color formulas and confirmed hydrogen peroxide in each one, an oxidizing agent the Centers for Disease Control identifies as capable of causing severe pulmonary irritation and toxic reactions if it contacts skin, eyes, or is inhaled at higher concentrations. Separately, the brand's parent company, L'Oreal, and its subsidiary Soft Sheen Carson, faces an active mass tort, with over 10,000 pending cases alleging its Dark and Lovely relaxer line caused hormone-related cancers in the same core customer base the brand spent decades specifically marketing to and building loyalty with. Looks like the brand finally built for you. Reads like a company facing over 10,000 pending cases from the exact community it centered in its own marketing for decades running. Hold the confirmed lab finding next to the pending litigation, and a much larger pattern comes into view. Hydrogen peroxide, confirmed present in the boxed dye, is one documented concern. A separate mass tort over the brand's relaxer line, filed by the same core customer base, is a second, larger pattern sitting alongside it. For the woman who thought a brand built specifically for her hair meant it was also built with her long-term safety in mind. This is what you actually bought. A confirmed hydrogen peroxide formula in the boxed dye, sold by a parent company simultaneously facing thousands of cases over a related product line, marketed to the same community for years. The carve-out. Dark and Lovely's semi-permanent. Fade-resist line skips the oxidative peroxide process entirely, coating the hair shaft rather than penetrating it. A genuinely lower exposure choice within the same brand name and shelf placement. Built for you. Confirmed peroxide. Thousands of pending cases regardless. Up next, a parent company already named once tonight, showing up again under a completely different professional label most consumers never connect to the same corporate owner. Avoid brand 6. Henkel. A tube of Igora Royal sits in a professional color tray at a high-end salon, mixed by a colorist who trusts the brand specifically because it carries the reputation of serious, technical, salon-only formulation rather than anything sold at a drugstore down the street. People trusted Henkel's Schwarzkopf professional line, including Igora Royal and Blonde Me, because the brand built its identity around technical precision aimed at working stylists rather than casual home users, a credential that made the formula feel more rigorously vetted than anything sitting on a retail shelf nearby. Here is the reveal. Henkel is named directly in active hairdresser lawsuits, alleging its flagship Schwarzkopf products, Igora Royal and Blonde Me, are linked to serious health concerns including bladder and breast cancer diagnoses among hairdressers with repeated occupational exposure. Plaintiffs allege Henkel failed to disclose the presence of harmful chemicals in these products or warn users about long-term health risks tied to continuous professional-level exposure over years of daily salon work. Henkel is also the same parent company behind the consumer-boxed Schwarzkopf Keratin Color, already covered earlier in this investigation, meaning one corporate owner sits behind both the drugstore box and the professional salon tube. Looks like a rigorously vetted, professional-only formula built for experts. Reads like the same parent company already named once tonight, this time facing a lawsuit over its most technical, salon-exclusive product lines. Trace the ownership fact all the way through and one name keeps showing up twice. Henkel owns Schwarzkopf. Schwarzkopf Keratin Color sits on the drugstore shelf. Igora Royal and Blonde Me sit in the professional salon tray. Two different price points, two different customer bases, one shared parent company named in litigation either way it goes. For the colorist or client who thought professional exclusivity meant a more carefully vetted formula, this is what you actually bought. The same corporate owner already named once tonight, now facing a separate lawsuit over its highest-end, most technical product lines sold to trained professionals. The carve-out. Henkel's Schwarzkopf. Professional Vibrance line uses a demi-permanent, lower ammonia formulation, reducing occupational exposure per application compared to the full oxidative Igor Royal system named directly in the lawsuit. Same parent company, two different shelves, one shared lawsuit regardless. Up next, a brand most shoppers have never actually heard of, sitting quietly next to the recognizable names on the exact same drugstore shelf. Avoid brand 7. Simpler. A plain, understated box sits at the very bottom of the drugstore shelf, priced lower than every recognizable name above it. The kind of box a shopper grabs specifically because it looks like a harmless generic version of something more expensive nearby. People trusted Simpler precisely because nobody had strong feelings about it either way. A private label, budget-priced brand carries none of the marketing baggage of a household name, which paradoxically made it feel like a safer, simpler choice, exactly as the name itself implies to anyone glancing at the shelf. Here is the reveal. Consumer Reports directly lab-tested Simpler, alongside recognizable names like Clairol and Schwarzkopf, and confirmed resorcinol present in the formula, the identical flagged chemical found across 4 other brands already covered in this investigation. A private label budget brand undergoes the exact same independent scrutiny as a recognizable name, and in this case, came back with the exact same finding sitting in the report. Looks like a harmless, generic budget option nobody thinks twice about. Reads like the identical confirmed chemical found in brands charging 3 times the price on the shelf directly above it. Set the price tag next to the confirmed lab result and the only real difference disappears. A lower price tag is the only variable that changed. Resorcinol, confirmed present, is the identical finding shared with recognizable, more expensive brands tested in the exact same testing round. For the budget shopper who thought an unfamiliar name meant a simpler, lower stakes formula, this is what you actually bought. The identical confirmed chemical as recognizable, more expensive brands, at a fraction of the shelf price charged elsewhere, the carve-out. There is no meaningfully cleaner subline within Simpler's own limited catalog, since the brand offers a narrow range of shades built on the same base formulation throughout its entire lineup. Lowest price, same confirmed chemical regardless of cost. Up next, a final professional brand named in the exact same lawsuit as 2 other brands already covered tonight, closing out the occupational exposure pattern running through this entire investigation. Avoid brand 8. Paul Mitchell. A sleek black bottle sits on a high shelf behind the counter at a salon known for training its stylists rigorously. The kind of brand new colorists are taught to trust specifically because the education program behind it feels more rigorous than nearly anything else in the industry. People trusted Paul Mitchell because the brand built its identity around stylist education, an entire training and certification system layered on top of the product line itself, which made the formula feel like it had already been vetted more carefully than a brand relying on marketing alone to sell itself. Here is the reveal. Paul Mitchell is named directly in the same wave of hairdresser, bladder cancer litigation as Wella and Henkel, filed by cosmetologists alleging long-term occupational exposure to permanent hair dye chemistry caused their cancer diagnoses. The lawsuits allege manufacturers, including Paul Mitchell, designed their formulas using ingredients they knew were carcinogenic, marketed them without adequate warning, and never required protective equipment instructions strong enough to match the actual occupational risk. Stylists were absorbing appointment after appointment for years on end. Looks like the most rigorously trained, most carefully vetted brand in the entire salon industry. Reads like a third defendant in the same lawsuit, already naming 2 other brands covered tonight in this investigation. Set the specific allegation directly against the training reputation the brand spent decades building. Defective design and failure to warn are the 2 specific claims. Both apply to stylists who followed every training protocol the brand itself provided, using the product exactly as instructed for years at a time. For the stylist who thought a brand built around rigorous training meant a formula built with equally rigorous safety review, this is what you actually bought. A third named defendant in the same occupational bladder cancer litigation, already covering 2 other brands in this investigation tonight. The carve-out. Paul Mitchell's demi-permanent lines carry a lower ammonia concentration than its full permanent color system, a meaningful reduction in daily occupational exposure for any stylist using it repeatedly across a full client schedule. Rigorous training. Same lawsuit. Third brand named regardless. That closes out all 8. 2 of them under the exact same parent company. 3 of them named in the same occupational cancer lawsuit. Every single one confirmed by independent lab testing or federal litigation rather than a rumor. Okay, stop for a second. You just sat through 8 brands, and 2 completely different accountability failures kept repeating. Consumer Reports Lab tested 5 of these boxed dyes directly and found the exact same flagged chemicals sitting under 5 different marketing stories: keratin, gentle, no ammonia, root touch-up only, built specifically for you. 3 more brands are named in active occupational cancer litigation from the actual hairdressers using these formulas every day, with one parent company, Henkel, showing up twice under 2 different shelf names. A founder builds a brand, a marketing team builds a story around one ingredient. The lab results and the lawsuits tell you what the story left out. That is not 8 separate stories. That is one story told 8 times, confirmed by 2 completely different kinds of receipts. Worth it, pick one. Soria Brazil Henna Cream. Where others confirm resorcinol under a gentle marketing story, Soria Brazil sells a formula with nothing chemical to hide underneath the plant-based story on the box. The brand built its entire formulation around Ayurvedic and Amazonian botanical traditions, rather than starting with an oxidative dye base and stripping ingredients out afterward. Here is the proof. The brand's own published ingredient deck confirms the formula is free of PPD, ammonia, hydrogen peroxide, resorcinol, and parabens. The exact 5 ingredient categories confirmed present across the 8 failing brands in this investigation. It is a non-oxidative formula, meaning it coats the hair shaft rather than penetrating it the way every single confirmed resorcinol formula tonight does. The honest limitation. Soria Brazil is a semi-permanent gradual color, meaning it fades over 10 to 12 washes rather than delivering the permanent, one-time coverage a full oxidative dye provides, so it asks for more frequent reapplication than any brand covered earlier tonight. Price and availability. Around $14 to $18, sold online and at select natural beauty retailers. For anyone who sat through the dark and lovely entry and felt the weight of a brand built for you that still carried confirmed hydrogen peroxide, this is what a formula actually built without that chemistry looks like. Up next, a brand that removed 8 separate ingredient categories in one reformulation rather than one marketing claim at a time. Worth it, pick 2. Madison Reed. Where others confirm one flagged chemical after another under 8 different marketing stories, Madison Reed sells a formula that removed 8 ingredient categories together and lets you check everyone against the box. The brand was built by a founder tired of choosing between salon-quality color and an ingredient list she could actually read without a chemistry degree. Here is the proof. The Smart 8 free formula is independently Leaping Bunny certified and dermatologist tested under a published clinical study. Verification that comes from outside the company rather than its own marketing department. The formula excludes PPD, resorcinol, ammonia, parabens, phthalates, SLS, and titanium dioxide, all 8 categories removed together rather than confirmed present one brand at a time the way tonight's investigation unfolded. The honest limitation. Madison Reed costs more than a drugstore box, and it remains a stronger, more oxidative formula than a fully botanical option. So it is not the gentlest possible choice for a documented severe allergy history. Price and availability. Around $26 to $30, sold online and at Target locations nationwide. Up next, a brand built specifically for people who already reacted to the exact chemical driving nearly every lawsuit named tonight. Worth it, pick 3. Eco Colors. Where others print a smaller box or a softer name, while resorcinol turns up in the lab anyway, Eco Colors sells a formula built around an entirely different base ingredient, and independent compliance confirms it. The brand was built specifically for people who had already reacted to PPD and needed a real alternative rather than a smaller dose wearing gentler packaging. Here is the proof. Eco Colors formulas comply with European Union cosmetic guidelines stricter than United States federal regulation, and the brand publishes its complete ingredient list openly rather than requiring a lab test to find out what several brands tonight only revealed under litigation. The formula is genuinely PPD-free, resorcinol-free, and formaldehyde-free, built around a soy-based delivery system rather than the oxidative chemistry confirmed across 5 brands in this investigation. The honest limitation. Eco Colors has a smaller shade range and smaller retail footprint than Madison Reed, sold primarily online rather than sitting on a shelf you can walk up to today. Price and availability. Around $20 to $25, sold directly through the brand's own website. You just sat through 11 brands, 8 confirmed by independent lab testing or named directly in active litigation, Schwarzkopf and Henkel, under one parent company, Wella, Henkel, and Paul Mitchell named in the same occupational bladder cancer lawsuit. Dark & Lovely's parent company facing over 10,000 pending relaxer cases from the same community the brand marketed to for decades. It is not a mistake, it is the model. Here is what you do tomorrow morning. Pick up whatever box dye is sitting in your bathroom right now, flip it over, and check the ingredient list for resourcinol. Tell me which of these 8 brands you have been buying the longest without ever checking the label. If someone you know is a hairdresser still using one of these professional lines daily, send them this video before their next client. The system is not broken. It is working exactly the way it was built to work. You were never supposed to notice that the lawsuit and the drugstore box came from the same parent company. Stay sharp, read those labels, keep rising.